All right, guys, welcome back. We are back and we are on a mission. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by September. That's the goal now. We want to hit 1,000 subs. I know it's a big ask. It's a big, crazy fucking ask because we are only at like 300 subscribers on YouTube right now, but that's what we're talking about. If you haven't already, please go to the YouTube page. Hit subscribe. We want to hit 1,000 subscribers by September. That's the challenge. If we hit 1,000 subscribers by September, I don't know exactly how we're going to do it, but we're going to do something really cool, something big. So make sure you guys do that. Another way you guys can help the podcast as well is go to patreon.com, Jared Singer Live, and you can join for as low as $3 a month. You can make a donation. You can do whatever you want, you guys. Just show that love and help us get to 1,000 subs as fast as possible. Hoping we can hit 300 at least by the end of the day today. We'll see what happens, right? All right, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by... What the fuck was that? What the hell is that noise? Oh my god, my slide's not working. This is dumb. Let's see if it works now. There we go. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Shooter Lube, America's best gun care system. With the two-stage system, you have the military-grade cleaning solvent and the extreme weapons oil. Go to shooterlube.com and join the revolution by using promo code SINGER and save yourself 10% at checkout. They're offering free shipping on all orders over $35 with a 100% money-back satisfaction guarantee, and they do offer free online support. Great guys. We've been working with them for a while. Fantastic company. I do use Shooter Lube to clean all my guns. Absolutely phenomenal product. Just make sure you guys understand this is not sex stuff. Keep it away and out of all your holes. That's a hell of a promo right there. Short, to the point. All right, this episode of the podcast is also sponsored by WeHost.Werner Elements. I want you to go to WeHost.Werner Elements. That's WERNER Elements.com. WeHost.WernerElements.com for powerful shared web hosting. This is where I host my website, you guys. And you can get for under $9 a month. You can go and get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, free domain registration, unlimited emails, 24/7 full support. And what am I talking about? Here's the deal, you guys. All of us are trying to do something on the side. This is the first step. Get a fucking website. Go to wehost.wernerelements.com and use promo code SINGER at checkout. All right, that's all we got for you guys for today. My guest for today is Joe Hastings, also known as Hastings 3000. He is an absolutely phenomenal musician. I've really had a lot of respect for this guy for a long time. He's done a lot. He's been there. Just an absolute eccentric, creative, goofy, silly, loving dude. I hope you guys are looking forward to this one. I hope you guys enjoy it. No further ado, welcome Joe Hastings to the podcast. We are live, Joe Hastings.
Well,
what the fuck is up with you?
What's up, Jared? Thanks for having me on your podcast.
It's an honor to have you,
Extravaganza.
It's an honor to have you, man. You're officially in what I call phase 3. So we had a pretty solid strategy for our first year of booking and like the people that we could get on and, you know, people we were already... How do I say this? There's certain people I couldn't get on at the beginning because I simply wasn't big enough. Like, there wasn't enough traction. Nobody knew what was going on.
Well, obviously, you're big enough now. You have me
I'm
on.
fucking now we're coming up, baby.
Just kidding.
But then there was another group, because you were willing to come on from day one.
Sure.
But we just weren't able to make it happen right away. And there's been a few cats like that. And then now it's really cool. The network is getting bigger and bigger. So we're getting into...
It's all
a
growth.
group of guests where it's like they have 10 to 30,000 followers on any individual platform. We just had Mike Salo on. I had to drop that episode because of tech difficulties, but he's coming on like next week or the week after again to make it up. He's got a bunch. You've had a fantastic career. And so it's
if
just
you call it that, right?
I just think it's cool because it's a difference between just being talented and actually having some tangible success in our careers. And that's what I mean by that. Like, it's a different group of guys where, like, not me. So for example, for me, right? Like, I've had some success, but I've almost always had to have a day job. Almost always. There's been a couple times I was able to quit and just do music for a while. But even my success, no one knows about because I was a fucking jobber, playing backup drums or bass for some random up and coming country artist.
I've done a few of those things myself.
Right? And the money's good. Don't get me wrong.
It can be.
But you had, when I met you, I was working at Guitar Center, and you're still doing Hastings 3000, but you were really kind of like in the heyday of that. And if I remember right, you were either trying to, or you had just sold out First Avenue. One of the two.
Yeah. Let's see I guess what circa was that? That was probably about 6-7 years ago, maybe 8, maybe longer,
maybe even 8.
Well, my timeline is obscured. Wait,
it was definitely while Obama was in office.
Oh yeah.
So it was definitely no earlier than 08,
yeah.
And obviously I probably wasn't at Guitar Center past 2012 or 13.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Yeah. That would have been the first couple of years of me doing it. I was coming off of a band called Fug Nights, and that band was had some cool energies to it, and I was like, okay, I gotta kind of go with that, so to speak, and branch out. And I love that band, and I love Joe Holland, who was in that band. But
shout out to Joe Holland.
Shout out to Joe Holland.
See if the chat commands are working. Nope, they're not working. I'm supposed to have this thing I can just press and put chat shit in the thing. It's not working.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, we're public, so good to go. But no, thank you for coming down, man. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
I'm been looking forward to this for a while. I wanted to ask you, man, so where did you start off your music career? Like, when did you go from like thinking it was fun and it was a hobby to going like, I want to be this is what I want? When did that happen?
I went to a Rolling Stones concert with a bunch of girls, and the opening band was called Living Color, with a guitar player named Vernon Reed.
Yeah.
And he rips, right? And he's a superstar as far as I'm concerned, which I'm friends with him on Twitter now,
Oh, shit, huh?
But when they were opening up for the Stones.
One of the greatest single solos ever written in Cult of Personality.
Yeah. Not only that, the lyrics of that is just totally out of this world. Those guys are way ahead of their time.
Got to be one of the top 50 songs of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. So totally great. So when they were playing, I'm like, I don't know how old I was. I was like 13, 14, somewhere around there. Earth years, that is. And they just blew my mind. I was just like, that's what I want to do. And I pointed, and I was looking at them, and the girls I was with, like, all they were doing was screaming the whole time for whatever was happening. I'm like, geez, they're kind of getting into this, And I was too. But
right.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So did you immediately gravitate towards guitar?
Yeah.
Because you play a lot of instruments.
I do, but guitar is my main I guess, obsession.
We were talking about this before the podcast. Hastings 3000 is kind of a one-man band thing.
Yeah, it can be. Like there's been a couple times I had like 20 people with me on the stage and doing weird stuff, and for me it's like it's a art project.
And I always consider that legit music. I always consider that legit art. There's never been any disrespect to that, but usually when I see a one-man band, they're not actually very good musicians. You're a fucking breathtaking guitar player. I seen you rip up something, and like I said before the podcast, I think it was like some country lick where, I don't know, I think you grabbed a guitar, we were just sitting there hanging out, and you just like played a riff, and I was like, oh my God, Jesus. This dude is a bona fide, fantastic guitar player.
Well, that's very nice. That's very nice to hear, man.
Where did the motivation, though, go from? Because, like, as a great guitar player, you're obviously going to hamstring yourself when you decide, I'm going to play drums and guitar at the same time, quite literally.
Sure.
So you're going to hamstring yourself to where you can't shred and do everything you possibly can do on guitar because you got to play this other instrument at the same time. Where the hell did the motivation come from to do that?
I was playing in a lot of bands that were doing a lot of different shows and tours and all the stuff, and damn it, some of the drummers wouldn't show up. So I just started just doing a kick drum for the rest of the band, and I realized that, well, I kind of like doing that, So then I started doing it, and then my buddy, I have two buddies, they're totally also superstars besides Joe Holland. Brian Herb does a one-man band, and so does my other buddy, John Brown. Both those guys, they're heavily involved with music and whatnot. And I saw them do the one-man band, and I'm like, wow, those guys are awesome. I love that, how good they are at it. I was like, I want to be a part of that thing, I think I was kind of already doing it at the time, but then I saw them do it, and it was just like, all of a sudden, there was like a family of one-man bands. Crankshaft was doing his thing for a while. My buddy Tony, who played in Boom Boom Bellum, who's one of my favorite one-man bands. And then, of course, like Bob Log III, who was like one of the kings of one-man bands in the back mid to late 90s. And
Bob Log III.
You got it. He's a superstar.
Not Bob Blah Blah from fucking Arrested Development.
There you got it. That's all that nice reference. That's it. Yeah, so, yeah, I guess it just started to it resonated with me. Just
That's
like seeing
cool.
the one-man band or the one-person band. There's a lot of like, I was in Spain, and this lady did a one-woman band. Not to get too gender specific.
I was just going to say, let's just, I don't care. It's still a one-man band.
I suppose, right?
Because it's a one-human band.
Yeah, there
right?
you go. I like that. Right. Maybe I like that better. One human band.
Yeah, it's a
But
human.
then it kind of suggests like this universal thing. Who
Right.
knows? Not to get too spiritual. But
I mean, we
yeah,
can get spiritual.
she ruled. I mean, she showed me some of the music she did, and she also did the single solo performer with the drums and like guitars and stuff, and she killed it too. And I was on tour with my one-man band, and so that's why her and I connected. It was cool, and yeah. So yeah.
But it kind of started out of necessity because fucking drummers.
It really did.
A
Yeah.
bunch of unreliable pieces of shit. I'm a drummer, so
I'm a terrible drummer myself.
I talk shit
but
about.
I love it.
I talk shit about every musician type. So I talk shit about guitar players. I talk shit about drummers, and I talk shit about singers, and I talk shit about bass players. Mainly because
How about accordion players. Do you talk shit about them?
No, because I don't play accordion.
Oh,
right?
okay, gotcha.
So
Also, you can talk about what you do. Right?
Yeah, because I feel comfortable talking shit about an instrument I played on or did professionally in some capacity. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. So you feel like you can rip on it.
Yeah, because I was
better.
a lead singer, so
Yeah,
I can openly
Like,
and
of
comfortably
course.
be like, yeah, let's just admit lead singers are completely fucking worthless. Or same thing with drummers. Oh yeah, fucking completely unreliable pieces of shit. Fuck them.
Absolutely.
As my drum set is literally sitting 6 feet
right,
from me, and I just played
and you played me some of your drums. Yeah, it was great. You're a good
Thanks,
drummer.
man.
You're a very
Thanks,
good drummer.
man.
And I was like, wow, those are pretty cool chops, man.
I appreciate that, man, because that's after a year of literally not playing.
Yeah.
They were stored up. I was trying to get somebody else to do the drums. Guys weren't stepping up. Now I got a guy who has stepped up, but I need to provide him reference tracks.
Am I hearing a one-man band is about to come out of this here?
I mean, I'm writing the foundation of everything, and that it's interesting you
Perform
asked
it
that.
all live.
So I've been thinking about this, right? Like, what if somebody took the one-man band idea, but they did it like a DJ or a hip-hop artist where they work on loop stations, right? So you mic up a kit, actually sit at the kit, play the drum beat, get it on your loop, boom. Then pick up the guitar, get that loop going,
Dosh
grab
does
the
that.
bass. That could
Dosh
be cool too.
is a superstar.
Where it's an actual full band setup, even though it's just one dude jumping from instrument to
Yeah.
instrument on a set of loop stations.
Yeah, you got it.
That could be fucking cool. Because usually when you see that kind of shit, it's either like a DJ or some hip hop artist, and like it's all and all he's doing is turning on tracks
Sure.
and loops. It's
As
kind of
long
lame.
as it's cool, and as long as it's good music, however you get to that point, you know what I mean? There's a lot of button people that I just absolutely adore. You know what I mean?
But I don't like watching them perform.
Well, as long as they get the lights,
Yeah, exactly. Now,
That's really
but
the secret.
that's
a whole different
that's the
culture
performer
now.
though.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the lights are the performer.
This is
Like
true.
I'm just watching you like hit buttons. No, I want to see like Shredders. Shredders is a better example because they're a hip hop group here.
Sure.
And I went and seen them live, and the dude playing the drum machine is actually playing a drum machine live.
right,
He's not
right.
just playing the beat and then standing there.
And just
Like he's
hanging.
actually fucking boom boom kaboom boom 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 kaboom boom boom kaboom. It's fucking
I like
and
that
it
beat
hits
already.
hard. It hits hard, and then fucking Steph's running around rapping with the other dude, and the dude's actually scratching records like as part of the band. It was like a real live hip hop band. It was fucking dope, dude. They're
That
called
is awesome.
Shredders.
Yes,
they're called
yes.
Shredders. They're from here.
Yep.
When you do that
I've
kind
heard
of
the
shit,
name
it's
around,
cool.
but I've never seen them perform. So I'm one of these kind of guys that tries to go out to as many shows I can every single day if I can possibly do it.
That's
Before
where I
the
ran into
pandemic,
you. Was
I
the
was like,
fucking
I went and saw 5 shows a night, almost on on average. I would travel around just going to see as many bands as I possibly could.
Well, and that's where you and I just ran into each other is fucking
or projects or whatever it is,
Stormbreaker show up at.
Oh yeah.
So how'd you end up at that show?
My student plays like lead guitar in that band. Or I should say my former student
In Stormbreaker?
Yeah,
So
that's
Logan?
his band. No, it's Bill.
Billy.
Bill Schlumpberger, yeah. Which I think is his last name is a superstar name. He doesn't like it, but I love it.
Oh, it's so funny.
Schlumpberger is
it's
so
a total
cool.
Jew name too.
Well, what I think of it is like that's maybe one of the coolest rock and roll names.
It's
Are
a
you kidding me?
it's a German.
It's like real.
It's a German Jew name.
Yeah, right.
It's his full name is it's technically pronounced Schlumpberger.
Yeah, Schlumpberger.
But they pronounce it Schlump.
Yes,
and he dropped the burger, so it's just Schlump.
wait, Billy did? Did he drop it for the stage?
Yeah, it's Billy Schlump.
Now I'm outing him. I'm sorry, Bill, if you see this.
No,
I didn't mean to out you, brother.
Is what we're trying to do is we're trying to get Lil Billy started.
Yeah,
Lil Billy.
Yeah, there you go.
Lil Billy.
Him and his family are just so they're the best. They're
He's
just so
awesome.
sweet. Yeah. Their whole energy is totally. And Stormbreaker also is a hardworking, like 80s hard rock band.
Yeah,
they rule.
And they're making
super
good
fun.
decisions.
Yes, they are, and they're playing cool festivals. They're opening up for huge like 80s rock and roll bands, and I'm like, what can I say? I'm proud guy.
I know,
here.
right? Yeah.
Watching this happen.
No, I've gotten. I wouldn't say I'm close with those boys, but I've gotten to know them, and I feel like if I said we're tight, I feel like that'd be a little presumptuous on my part.
A little pushy.
Yeah, but like, no, we're cool. We're getting there. We'll be tight soon. We're becoming friends.
All right,
that's the best way to.
The more
put it.
you go out to their shows, the closer you get. You share experiences with each other.
Yeah, and they're working with Wally, who's producing my album.
Oh, cool. I don't know Wally. I don't think I've met
Wally
him, but...
Joseph, the lead singer of Skywind.
Oh, okay.
That's where he made
his
name, but
sure.
Yeah, he's another one.
I always thought it was Skywind, but
everyone made that mistake.
Right, yeah,
everyone did.
I saw it written around a lot.
That entire band admits that's a terrible band name.
I don't think it's terrible. I mean, Green Day doesn't really like their own band.
Yeah, but you
name.
can't mispronounce Green Day.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's hard to mispronounce it. You can't say
exactly.
Grinder.
That's a perfect example, though. Yeah, they all hate that. You ask anyone in that band name, they're like, stupid idea. But once it got going, they even tried to change it once, and they eventually went back to.
I think it's. I actually kind of like the name, even though it can be misinterpreted with the the way the.
So do I.
Yeah, right.
I think it's a cool name, but they hate it. They think it's stupid.
Well, such is the complexities of band, guys.
So what are you up to now, man? You've got some clips. If we have time, we're going to try to squeeze in a couple.
Sure.
You were doing an album, and you said you're technically still doing that. What else are you up to? And that's the H3K stuff, right?
Yes.
Hastings 3000.
Yeah, I'm prepping up my third record, full length album, and
the second one you did was Invasive Species, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
I remember you telling me about that idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we first met way back in the day and we were hanging out.
I was probably having that circle and obsessed with that idea. I'm still obsessed with the idea, but now I've kind of
You had just come up with it, though. Like you were like, oh, the next thing I'm writing, like I just got done with this album and I'm going to do this one, and it's about like I can't remember how you described it to me at first, but it was something to do with like either a parasite or an alien invasion. And it was so interesting because I had told you about this TV show I was writing.
Yeah.
And that's where the connection is like my concept of the antagonist, the big bad for my TV show was very similar to a concept you were working on for this album.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell us.
I remember that conversation. At least I remember parts of it.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I figured, well, instead of just jumping ship. So what was your first album called?
A New Monster.
A New Monster.
Yeah.
And what was the concept for that one? Because they're all concept albums, correct?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, that one was a little bit more the idea of introducing an anti-hero character or a hero character.
And that's what Hastings 3000 is.
It's in question. Like that character is like, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? You know what I mean? Like that's I love that.
What are we doing?
Yeah, right. I love that kind of dichotomy of presenting, hero anti-hero, because that's how humans really are.
Yeah,
nobody's 100% good. Nobody's 100% bad. You're gonna find aspects of. Although there's many people that are mostly good, and maybe there's some really truly beautiful people. In fact, I think I've met a few. So there are some people that are 100% good. That contradicts what I was just saying, isn't it?
Yeah, but I also think those people do have a dark side that just hasn't come out yet. You know, like put them in a zombie apocalypse when they haven't eaten for 6 days and
there you go.
See what dark shit they're willing to do.
Yeah, they're about ready to get some machetes out and you know, all the things.
'Cause you're still fucking human. You know what I mean? Like
That's right.
I get it. You're a better human than I am, but like, give it time.
You have done better things than I have, and you know, but now you've got a machete.
So that's the new monster. That was kind of introducing the concept of Hastings 3000, which is a moniker of yours.
Well, kind of. It was also, for me, was a real looking at all human society.
Sure.
Human society right now is a new monster, you know. And the invasive species is also a human society mindset, too. Okay. In fact, I was going to call that, the working title for the record is called Zona Infectada. And I had you know, talked
That's
about masks
zone of infection
and
or some
infected
shit like
zone, you know, being, you know, all over the place, you know, kind of thing. And
Italian?
Zona Infectada is actually, it's more Spanish than it is Italian, but they connect. You know, they're both romantic languages. And I like to speak in romance, you know.
I also know jack shit about languages, so they all like, oh, is that Italian? If I would have sounded really smart if you'd have been like, that is actually, and then I could have been like, yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have qualified that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to invalidate that.
No, it's all good, dude.
I'm all about validation these days.
That's
actually.
the best part of the podcast is when I make an ass out of myself.
Oh, no,
is that Italian? No, it's Spanish, you dumb fuck.
Well, you can
you
kind of say
stupid piece of shit.
But yeah. But yeah, so I felt like infected zone was a little too specific, so I wanted it to be a little bit more ethereal. So invasive species, you know, references many things, I suppose. But there's, you know, one idea is that it's just humans are an invasive species.
Sure.
But at the same time, that's kind of saying, well, yeah, if we realize that, then maybe we won't be. You know, so we're not an invasive species if we have the perception of it.
But now we're about to colonize Mars, so we're definitely an invasive species.
I love that.
And we're not even cool with just taking over our own host body. We're like, we need more planets.
We need more planets to invade.
We need more planets.
And conquer.
The cross-spermientation idea.
Love it, yeah.
Now we're just going back to Mars to reseed the planet we originally came from.
Yeah, and change the atmosphere for our needs.
So what's the idea of the third album? What do you got going on with this?
The third album is all about perception. At least that's a working kind of title.
And you were telling me you think this is going to be the coolest, best album you've done so far.
I think it is, yeah.
Is that for all your music career, or is that just referencing H3K stuff?
Well, this specific album, I think, is got a lot of ideas that I've been floating for years, and I'm finally getting to that point where I can make them tangible.
Sure.
And because a few of them were, you know, pretty, kind of had some ancient undertones to them, talking in vernacular and dialect in different ways.
What do you mean?
Meaning, on A New Monster, I have a song that's called, let's see, what's it called? I forget the name of it right now. It's called Damuzi, the Wild Bull. And in that, there's all this script of how, you know, the Mesopotamians would speak to each other and how they would interact with each other. So I pulled some of that vernacular and put it into that song. And ever since I've been into this for a long time, but that was the first kind of embodiment of me presenting it. Let's see here. You know, I have been a bird, a scaly fish in the sea. You know, all these kind of different types of words that create imagery that really hit me personally. And I guess bring me to another spot. It changes how I look at things. And so this next record is going to have a number of those ancient undertones and also very contemporary and boppy. And I'm calling it a couple of the songs Scary Disco.
Okay.
Like upbeat, but kind of dark.
Sure.
You know.
Are you referencing any scales or chord progressions from those regions? So when you pull something from that dialect, you'll go into the regional chord progressions.
Yeah, I've been studying ancient music for years. You know, for me, that's just a part of the. That's just a part of the. You know, if you want to, for me, being a good musician is not only learning your contemporary societies, all the different genres and different cultures that are happening contemporary in the modern era, but going back as far as you can, looking at even papyrus songs and like different sayings and folk music that's been passed through. You know, for me, some of the most powerful music currently that I listen to is a singer, a style of music called qawwali, and it's basically it's a Pakistani style, ancient that region where Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan is one of the finest of the improvisational singers in this style, and to me, it's ancient melody because it's a family thing for them, the Ali Khans.
Interesting. I know nothing about that.
What should I say? I don't know much more than you do, but I do find myself gravitating towards it and listening to it often.
I mean, the most I could say I know about any music from anywhere near that region, all the way from, because I understand Pakistan is where it is, so as far east, obviously India, and then as far west is like the Middle East. The most I can tell you about that music is that they have double the amount of notes per octave that we do. Yeah. So like we deal in whole tones and semitones. They have quarter tones between our flats and sharps.
Yep.
So when we hear something and we're like, ooh, he's off key, that's an actual note that they practice being able to hit over there.
Yes.
That's it. That's all. That's the extent of my music knowledge from that part of the world.
I think that's a good basis.
You know what I mean? Though?
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I understand that's more than a lot of people from this part of the world know, but it's still, I'm just admitting how naive I am. You know what I mean?
Well, we're all naive on this planet, really.
Yeah, but my boy's over here straight studying Pakistani shit, like getting into it like a scholar, man. That's why I got respect for you, because you have respect for the art far beyond just pop entertainment. You know what I mean?
But pop entertainment, though, is one of my most. I'm very interested in pop music because that's the thing that seems to hit the hearts of the most people.
Right.
Not that I am a pop musician by any means, but I love it. I love pop music. I think it's from especially this last 100 years of pop music. Yeah. So what can I say about that? The pop music is. It embodies all of these different things. You're going to hear qawwali music. You're going to hear, what else are you going to hear? You're going to hear, African music. You're going to hear like Russian. You're going to hear, Latin. Western music. Well, all of it combined for pop music, and you hear it all across the planet.
And it changes. And pop music can define, in like, how do I say this? So when I was a kid, right, like the only thing that was popular was butt rock. Okay?
Right.
Which, believe it or not, most of is built around blues progressions and the pentatonic scale.
Sure.
So it was that was basically the secret sauce, right? And then I always had this like super weird affinity, even as a child, for what they used to call world music. So it's like, it's hard to explain what world music was back then.
Anything that wasn't United States music, maybe, right?
Sort of, but it had a very distinct international sound.
Well, the Grammys used to have a category called Best World Music.
Yeah, and it's like it used to be like, here's an example
between the United States and that.
Here's a pop example of world music. It's a terrible example, but it's still an example. Enya.
Oh yeah, Enya.
Silhouette.
I love Enya.
Silhouette.
Who can say where her love goes?
That sound, that genre is what they used to call world music, but that was still like corporatized pop version of world music.
Oh, it was like Irish dream music or whatever.
Yeah, and there was like African drums and like entire instrument sections would just be built with fucking choirs. And they'd be like drums and like they'd have some native instruments, so it's like literally African drums or whatever.
True.
And now, here's my point. That was cheesy, unpopular music back in the day. And now, world music, that sound that we used to call that, is the ground, the base foundation of a lot of European pop music. Truly. Where they put 4 on the floor dance beats over it now.
Yes.
But the sound is still that old thing. So pop music can decide what's cool by bringing in a genre of music that isn't currently popular and going like K-pop is another one. You know what I mean?
Boom. I love K-pop.
Now they're dictating through that style of music what the rest of the world is going to sound like. So it's a two-way street is what I'm getting at.
Sure.
Right? And I think that's really interesting as well, because yeah, there's going to be a day where, I mean, you even heard it for a long time, traditional Irish sounding music and bands
Sure.
couldn't be like big time and popular. And then was it the Dropkick Murphys?
Dropkick Murphys, yeah. Lost the show to those guys. Those guys got a lot of energy, man.
That's a
cool
fucking
energy.
that's a modern day pop rock Irish song.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, those guys, they're
Now they use it
they're
at
one of the crowning,
and now they
points
use
of
it
that.
at Notre Dame games for kickoff.
You're right.
You know what I mean? So it's like
fun. It's fun. I like it.
it's just cool, man. It's
Yeah,
cool.
man.
It's if you can figure out, hey, this chord progression or this scale or whatever in this genre of music, there's something really catchy here. Let me figure out a way to make a hit out of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of my friends do
Boom.
that. Yeah.
It'll just be. I mean, Metallica did it with their sound. Fucking
definitely
Nirvana
did.
did it with their sound. They found a way to make a new idea catchy and bring it to the world, and then you have everybody else and their mother trying to replicate that sound for the next 10, 15 years.
Something tells me Nirvana didn't really think about like trying to get the hit, but maybe they did. Maybe I'm fooled by it. But I honestly, I think it was the people around them that helped them shape it.
I think there's a blend, right? So
Yeah.
I think because I've heard a lot of stories from people in that area when he came up.
But then like Madison when Vig recorded the Nevermind, the big breakthrough one.
Before that.
Okay.
So way before that. Like before Dave joined the band.
So yeah,
They sucked. But Dave, and I don't know if this is
what can I say
true.
about Dave Grohl?
I don't actually know if this is true.
He's my doppelganger.
But the people that have told me this, I believe them. Because they're highly credible people. They don't make shit up or bullshit.
Sure.
But basically the band sucked. But Dave already had a record deal. And
He was playing with it wasn't Suicide, it was Scream, I think.
something like that. Like
it wasn't Suicide. Suicide is such an amazing New York.
and he had
band.
his own deal.
Thanks for the beer, by the
No
way.
problem,
man.
brother. And basically he saw something in Kurt Cobain that no one else saw. And he somehow convinced his record deal, his record label, to allow him to fuck with Kurt.
Mm.
And I think is what happened is Dave Grohl is such a naturally prolific songwriter
Yeah.
that he basically sculpted the whatever Kurt was doing into actual structured songs that could make it. Because you listen to that first record they made before Nevermind,
Sure.
it's the same band, a little bit more raw, not as many hits, right?
Sure.
And apparently they like weren't even popular in their own town. It was after they released that Nevermind record, while they were on tour, they came back to town and were the biggest band in the world.
Yeah, right.
Like,
right.
and it sort of happened while they were on that tour,
Yeah.
kind of out of nowhere. Like it's not like during that tour they started playing sold out crowds. It was like by the time they made it home, they were the biggest band in the world. And suddenly, it reminds me of certain stories I've heard from other bands. So I do kind of believe it because it makes a lot of sense. Where it's like, yeah, this band's not even popular in their own town, but then they go, 3,000 miles east and they're playing for 15,000 people.
Yep.
That happens a lot.
Happens a lot. Happened to Hendrix.
Yeah.
He's also from Seattle. So
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Hendrix got his first kind of big breakthrough after playing like the Chitlin circuit and then New York City when he went to London, when everybody there was like, who is this guy? No, the States was kind of like that. They didn't really zero in on Jimmy's like amazingness.
Who's your favorite guitar player of all time?
Jimmy Page probably.
Jimmy Page?
Or Django Reinhardt.
That's your favorite. Okay. Interesting. So
Django
who do you think is the
Reinhardt.
best guitar player of all time?
Best guitar player of all time is geez, that's hard to say, man.
I know,
For
right?
me, it's like there's a best guitar player in the basement somewhere in Idaho.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know who I would say genre-wise, I look at people who pioneered and developed genres, like Jimmy Page, doing the layered up full hard rock heavy metal thing that was combined with acoustic and just brilliant stuff.
I think Jimmy Page is both one of the most underrated and overrated guitar players of all time.
I think you're right on many levels.
Because he's underrated. People don't respect him as a songwriter enough.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do, but some
Sure.
people don't. he's overrated because he's not like a shredder.
Yeah, right.
Like he can rip, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But he's not like bending the rules of guitar like Jimmy did, like Eddie did, like fucking a lot of people say Prince is the greatest guitar player of all time. And that's from honestly, like good, prolific musicians too.
I'm not bullshitting here. One of the best guitar players that nobody talks about is her name is Sister Rosetta Tharpe. She discovered Little Richard at
She a nun? Sister Rosetta Stone.
no, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. So she existed around like the late 30s, early 40s, and she's one of the first women.
Play bass?
No, she played guitar. And she played like a awesome SG.
Well, I know you said she played guitar, but I was wondering if she also played bass. Because there's a female who played bass around that same era, and she's still to this day. There's videos of her in black and white, videos of her.
You talking about Carol Kay?
I think I might be. And that
I used to take lessons from her.
No shit.
Yeah. I studied with her, and
one of the most ripping bass players of all time. Period. End of story.
You should hear her play guitar. She used to play guitar and bass with Joe Pass. I mean, like I don't know if anybody out there in the audience knows Joe Pass. I think this is the same.
I think we're talking about the same woman.
She was part of the Wrecking Crew.
Carol Kay. That sounds right.
She's been on 10,000 hits.
White woman, short hair, and then fucking always played in like a dress.
Yeah.
Way back then, like she
think that's the
she
same
kind of
lady?
looked like
in the 50s. She looked like that.
Yeah, like Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah,
yep.
she did.
And but she would be sitting there with a bass just fucking throwing down.
She's a ripper. I mean, she was like the bass line behind "Good Vibrations" by the Beach Boys. That was her playing that bass line.
I'm almost 100% certain this is the same person we're talking about.
Well, Carol Kay rules, and I was fortunate enough to study under her for a bit. And
I apologize for mistaking her for Rosetta
Tharpe, Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Sister Rosetta Stone Tharpe.
Let me just talk about Sister Rosetta Tharpe real quick. So, to like where she comes from, she was one of the first electric guitar players ever, and she played it like a monster. Like she just ripped solos. So she would front up big gospel, gospel choirs and whatnot, and they would be bombastic and awesome. And most of the videos are all black and white, and it kind of looks like about 1952 kind of stuff. And then she'd go to a guitar solo, and she would literally just command the stage with her energy and presence. And she discovered Little Richard. She gave Little Richard some of his first shows ever. And like Little Richard, like she was a mentor for him. And to me, Little Richard is, he's up there with Chuck Berry and, B.B. King, Bo Diddley.
A lot of people don't understand how good Little Richard was.
Little Richard,
he was so good.
He was not only so good, but he was so complex.
And he's directly responsible for James Brown a couple different ways.
Well, I think vice versa. I think they kind of played off each other. I think James Brown is also a absolute spirit.
Wasn't Little Richard around first? And maybe I'm mistaken. Hold on, maybe I'm fucking this up. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Maybe I'm just making this up out of thin air. But I swear I thought James Brown was either like a dancer, a backup dancer, or a backup vocalist, or something for Little Richard. And that's where James Brown also got his sound. That's why I meant directly responsible for him in a couple different ways. Maybe I'm making that up, though. I swear. I
know that Jimi Hendrix played with Little Richard. That was one of his first gigs, first kind of paying gigs or whatever.
For sure, yep.
But there's interviews where Little Richard's describing how Jimmy would play that guitar and make my toes shoot up in my boot. Just like, I love Little Richard. I went through a spot where I was watching a lot of interviews with him throughout his career, and I'm like, this guy, he was a chameleon. He went through all of these different presentations, and he really was. He had a lot of demons he was wrestling with.
Wasn't he also a prolific multi-instrument musician? Like everybody knows him for playing piano, but isn't it true he could play guitar and play drums and play trumpet? And
I believe that's the case, yeah. And
he could shred, kind of like a Prince. Like he could run circles around everybody in the band. So
there's a reason why Prince dressed like Little Richard every once in a while,
right?
or Hendrix. It's kind of like the combo platter of those two became Prince, and Prince obviously is, to me.
Oh my God, that's exactly what he is. How have I never made that connection before?
Maybe because Prince has such a personality.
Holy fuck, but you're exactly correct. Prince equals fucking Little Richard plus Jimi Hendrix.
What can I say?
There's your fucking formula for Prince.
You know what?
Baby.
I love them all so much, And I've gone through phases where I want to just rip them apart.
So who do you think is the most overrated guitar player of all time?
Overrated guitar player of all time. Jeez, I don't know.
Because I don't want to put you on the spot with best. That's obviously hard. We could talk for hours.
With genre. We could talk genre.
Right.
Who's the best in their genre?
Sure.
The king of surf guitars, Dick Dale. You know,
Right.
the king of gypsy jazz is Django Reinhardt. You know,
Right.
the king of the blues. Well, I think it's BB. It's the three kings: BB, Freddie, and Albert. I think those are really the three kings of the blues, besides Sister Rosetta Tharpe. But she was more gospel. Not to classify,
Sure.
but I like kind of classifying genres because it's important to say, hey,
Right.
I'm really into, Creole music, and you know
I know exactly what you mean.
regionally
Like,
what it is.
I always end up getting irritated when we talk about genres on this podcast, but we have to because
know,
it
right?
matters, because there is a difference between Metallica and Led Zeppelin.
That's true.
Both have been called heavy metal.
Yeah, but they're not. They're not the same.
Neither one of them are heavy metal anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
But at one time, they were both the literal definition of heavy metal.
You could say that for some specific songs of theirs. You wouldn't listen to "That's the Way" by Led Zeppelin and say, "Oh, that's a heavy metal song."
No, but people try
but
to
you
make.
could.
But
I mean,
people
you
try
kinda
to
could.
make the argument. My dad's generation, they were like, "That's the first heavy metal band," and it's like, no,
Sure.
that's the
Some
first
people say
band.
Cream was.
That's the first band people called heavy metal because it was harder than hard rock at the time.
Sabbath.
But
is
truly,
right there.
the first metal band of all time was Sabbath.
I
But they
think
didn't
so.
call them
Yeah,
heavy metal when
call
they
it
were.
heavy blues is what they kind of called it.
Is that what they called
I
it?
think they kind of did, yeah.
Because
I mean,
they certainly didn't call
wasn't
any
there,
of
but
that shit classic rock when it was being made.
I should
We call
text-
it classic rock now.
Yeah, right. I
They
should text
didn't-
Ozzy real quick and see what he says. What'd you guys call yourselves,
Do
brother?
it. Do it. You got his number?
I'm not going to say if I do or not. You kidding me?
Just
if I
pull
said,
your
if
phone
I
off.
said yes,
Just
I'd
pull
have
your
people
phone
coming
off.
over and saying, "Give me Ozzy's
Just
number."
pull your phone off the table, shoot out a text, and we will not be able to
Well, let's see
confirm
here.
or deny whether you received one back from Ozzy Osbourne or not. That's so funny.
Well,
Who's an overrated guitar player?
Overrated guitar player.
This is
I think any guitar player who really thinks that they're awesome is overrated.
okay.
you
So
know?
me,
Yeah. You are the most overrated guitar player. Maybe I'm the most overrated guitar player.
don't you kind of have to have a little bit of that though? In order to be a rock star, you got to kind of have a little bit of that "I'm the shit" attitude, right?
Well,
because if you really don't believe in yourself, can you even have confidence to go out on stage and be a rock star?
Well, let's put it this way: some of the most famous people that I may have had the fortunate opportunity to hang out with on any level, they often have heavy self-esteem issues, so they're always overcompensating for it. So
Right.
somebody who really says that they're really awesome is often just projecting that because they feel like they're so terrible, and
Yep.
and that's maybe I think I have a lot of that, where
I'm
like,
definitely my own biggest cheerleader.
yeah, right. I think that's good. It's good to have this this idea that, well, I need to work harder because I kind
and
of suck.
That's what I was just going to
You know?
say. I'm also my own hardest critic.
Yeah, I am too.
Because
yeah.
I played those drums for you, and they're like, "Oh yeah, those are actually pretty good." And I'm like, "Oh, they're sloppy as fuck. Just listen, dude. Like I'm missing
That's true.
this, I missed this.
You
Look,
were
oh,
like,
there's a stick hit.
Watch
Oh,
over that 4N beat
yep,
right there. Yeah.
Yep, it's a little sloppy here. You see how like you can actually
rushed
hear
it.
my
I
shit.
rushed it.
Yep, I rushed that double snare right there. Oh no, hear that? My fucking kicks are lazy. I'm
thought it was
behind.
cool.
I mean,
thought it was cool, man.
I was actually pretty proud of it just because it's literally been a year of no playing drums, and then I just set the kit up and took a couple runs at it, and I also do everything in one pass, kind of like we were talking about, like old school style. If I'm going to
Record
do
it as is.
yeah, I really try to not be a guy who has to like punch in and punch out and overdub and shit like
same
that.
for me, man. I got to get the tracks right because I feel like that's just the most sincere way to present it.
Well, and that's how you do it on stage.
Sure.
If I can't do this in the studio, I can't do it on stage.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that do the loopy stuff with their whatever they're doing, and I, up to this point, I've always done everything with the Hastings 3000 as an organic thing where I have to perform it right there on the spot on stage.
And don't get me wrong, I will punch in and out.
Yeah, right.
I just really try not to. I'm not trying to be pretentious. Like, I'm not
Punching
a
in and
purist.
out. Yeah, right. With recording wise, that's
Yeah,
what you mean.
yeah. Like, oh, dude, that solo's like literally perfect. And then you just, when you went to do this one bend, your finger slipped off the string.
Yeah. and all
Sounded
of a
like
sudden-
Guitar Hero for a second. But everything else is so perfect. Let's just punch in and fix this one note. I don't
Sure.
want to risk redoing the whole solo and you not doing all this other shit exactly the way you did it. Because, guitar players and even drummers, sometimes there's little improv mistakes you make in the studio, and that
Not
is
me,
your
not
best
me.
take.
No mistakes ever.
No. What about improv mistakes though, where they're
Nope.
good mistakes?
Oh well, yeah. What can I say about
Where
that?
you're like,
that
"Ooh,
reminds me of Miles
I
Davis
like
said
that."
Miles Davis says there's no real mistakes.
It's all
just-
progressive music.
Yeah, right.
That's jazz.
I forgot
No, I
his
didn't-
actual. His quote was much more poignant than what I just said, but it was to that effect.
That's
you
the
know?
old jazz joke. No, I didn't fuck up. It's progressive.
What'd he
It's
say?
jazz.
I'm gonna. Who knows if that'll come up in my brain after?
You'll get it. You'll get it
Does
in a
he?
minute. It'll come back. Okay, yeah. So who's the most overrated guitar player? Do you?
Overrated
your
guitar
mind.
player. Let's see here. Let's. I guess for me to get the context, maybe think about. Let's see who's most overrated guitar player. I don't know actually right now. I guess I don't look at it, any guitar player in those terms. I just look at them as
So who's the most underrated guitar player there? Who do you think is really truly elite and they never get the respect that they probably deserve?
Well,
I mean, you
anybody-
mentioned one of them. You mentioned
Carol Kay. She's one of them.
Yep, and you mentioned Sister
Sister Rosetta Tharpe. She's
Yep.
absolutely another one. And Elizabeth Cotton. I guess I'm talking about these amazing guitar players that just don't get enough credit, you know, ever. Because, what can I say, a lot of the music has been dominated by certain parts of our cultures, and sometimes those other parts of the cultures don't get enough of a comeuppance, so to say. And that's unfortunate. But anybody who brings people together is really the superstar. For me, Chuck Berry is probably one of my number ones. Maybe even more so than Jimmy Page, even though my first reaction when you asked me about my favorite guitar player, I think Chuck Berry might be maybe actually my favorite guitar player.
Isn't he like probably truly the actual godfather of rock and roll?
I believe he is.
If you really look at the actual origins, people want to say Elvis, and nah.
Well,
It
I think
wasn't
Elvis had a lot of things going on with him. He brought audiences together.
Sure.
And Chuck Berry did on many levels as well. Maybe Chuck did even more so than Elvis. Chuck was kind of like the first black guitar player who started being played on white radio at that time.
Sure.
I can't even. It's crazy to even think that there was such a thing as those two.
I mean, Johnny B. Good is probably
two radio stuff.
the most prototypical
It really is.
blues rock and roll song of all time.
Absolutely right.
And it's almost like, I feel like Chuck Berry, I feel like there's only been two guitar players like that. And one of them's Chuck Berry and the other one is Eddie Van Halen. And the reason I say this is because without Eddie Van Halen, without Van Halen 1 coming out in 1978, you don't have a single band in 80s metal. Metallica doesn't happen. Fucking
Well, this is an interesting line of
Iron
thought.
Maiden.
I like this.
Iron Maiden probably doesn't even happen, and if they do happen, they don't go down the same way.
Well, their first record though was like
I know they were already out. They were in the
Yeah.
early 70s, but
I want to
still.
say 71 or something. I was trying to buy it recently on cassette, and it's like a $70 cassette.
But it's when you listen to
Damn it.
Iron Maiden, it's very traditional.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Like in its orchestration,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very traditional.
Yeah,
Whereas
those guys are like kind of classical.
Yeah,
in their
exactly.
approach.
Exactly.
It's like structured and it's just beautiful harmonies and movements within their music.
correct.
And there's a
But
I-
there's
what
no
can I say
Motley
about
Crue. There's no Def Leppard. There may not even be a Metallica. There's
No. So you're attributing Van Halen to be kind of the pioneers of that genre. Now maybe what I would suggest is like maybe there was a lot of people.
Jimmy
just
might be
starting
in
to
that category too.
Maybe a lot of people were just feeling that kind of we're going to grow our hair out and wear funny clothes and just be over the top,
Possibly, but
all kind of a part of that just mindset was
I
happening.
mean,
too,
yeah,
you know?
you're probably right.
But I don't know. What
But
can I say?
think Chuck
do-
Berry's
I
in
do
that
think-
category too. Without Chuck Berry, you don't get Elvis. You don't
You're right,
get
yeah.
the Rolling Stones. You don't get,
You don't get
Ray
Rolling
Charles.
Stones, I know that. Yeah,
You don't get. I mean,
Pink Floyd wouldn't happen without Chuck Berry.
right?
Yeah, they were basically a Chuck Berry cover band for a while.
Have you heard that?
The Beatles, same.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
early fucking bubblegum pop version of Pink Floyd. Have you heard that shit? They
With
don't even
Sid stuff?
sound like the same band.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah,
bubblegum pop, upbeat like the Beatles.
yeah.
Pink Floyd.
See, I love that.
Pink
I
Floyd
love
was
how
not
many-
always Pink Floyd.
I mean, how many channels did they go through? How many different evolutions did Pink Floyd go through? I mean, for me, Pink Floyd rules.
Another band.
Roger Waters, I saw that concert 4 years ago or something, and it was just a brilliant presentation. I couldn't believe how good it sounded. I heard that Roger put like $70 million into this whole show, and he had a lot to say. It was very political and very cool and very awesome.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean, like he was really freaked out by what was happening in the United States, and so I think he put on a presentation that was
Oh,
just...
fuck off, Roger. Go home. Take that shit back to Europe.
You got it right. But
Come over here and tell us about our fucking... I'm just kidding.
Right. Well, I mean, his
I'm
whole
just
thing
kidding.
is all about that, though.
No,
Yeah,
I know. I was just
always been
thinking
like-
that, too. Like, so many people get so irritated nowadays from musicians and entertainers.
Going political.
Yeah, but it's like...
But Roger is that, though.
I was just going to say...
He does it in a very poignant way.
Yeah, and there was entire genres where that was the point. Like, a lot of classic rock was built on the idea of protesting the Vietnam War.
Truly.
You know,
Country Joe
Rage
and the
Against the
Fish.
Machine was built on that.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
the weird
like,
thing about those guys, they're from Harvard, so there's that.
so they're just really educated bitches.
There you got it, right?
We're all bitches. We're all we're doing is bitching. That's all we all do.
That's right.
The difference is we're from Harvard, so we're really smart about our bitching.
Right?
We use high level words about bitching. No, but I was just gonna say that, like, yeah, Pink Floyd has always been commenting on social, political, economical issues. Yeah,
mental illness, like all the things that I guess I love.
Yeah, dude, Pink
So
Floyd
Pink
is one
Floyd,
of those
maybe
bands.
David Gilmour is my favorite guitar player, actually.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe Roger Waters is my favorite. What can I say? It's like
David
it depends on
Gilmour-
the moment.
David Gilmour, hands down, one of the least properly respected guitar players.
Yeah, he might be one of the more underrated guys out
Now,
there.
this
Lindsey
wouldn't-
Buckingham.
If we
from
had this
Fleetwood Mac is
conversation
too.
30 years ago,
Yeah,
that wouldn't be true.
yeah.
Because people would
say
still be talking David Gilmour.
that. You got
But
it.
now it's almost like he's slowly being forgotten about, and that's what I'm getting at, is like guys that have slipped through the cracks now over the last 20, 30. I think David Gilmour's on that. Because I think he's on my Mount Rushmore of guitar players.
Yeah, I think he's in one of my top 5. You know,
I think it's got to be Jimmy, Eddie,
Jimmy as in Jimmy Page,
Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix. Yep.
Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, David Gilmour. That fourth one's tough. Probably James Hetfield, actually.
James Hetfield is, what can I say about him? His first 5 records, I think, were absolutely inspired, all the way up through the Black Album. I should say right before the Black Album. I thought was
he's like an,
absolutely brilliant
and
stuff.
he's like an Eddie Van Halen, where it's like, I don't care how many videos you watch, I don't care how many tabs you read,
Sure.
I don't care if he personally sat down and taught you the riff, you're not going to play it correctly. It's not going to sound like James.
You're right about that. There's just certain people out there that when
Yeah.
they play whatever instrument they play, you can just tell it's them.
Yeah.
You know, like when Ray Charles plays piano, it's like, who can sound like that? Or when Aretha Franklin plays piano. Have you ever heard her play piano? She's
Right.
an amazing piano player. In addition to her singing, I went through a spot where I was like watching a lot of her early stuff, and I'm like, I get it now, because I never got a chance to actually see her or be a part of any of that. Just kind of her heyday was way before my time, but I can see why she is as beloved as she is, because of my recent being like, who is Aretha Franklin? I was like, this kind of like, how'd she get to be there? And I'm like, oh, I see why. She rules on so many levels.
Yeah.
And she broke through the class and gender and all the different things. And anybody who does that, like Chuck, like Elvis, even like Eminem,
I was just going to say him. Not
James Brown,
Machine Gun Kelly.
These people they bring people together, and I think that's
Right.
a huge thing with all this.
100%.
Oh,
it is still on it.
we're still recording?
Yeah, no, I thought the camera switcher glitched out, so I thought like it wasn't switching. No, it's working fine.
Well,
Everything
hello
looks good.
everybody out there. By the way, we're getting into our conversation.
Yeah, we're about an hour in, close to it, coming up pretty close. Looks good. Everything seems like it's working fine. Haven't seen any complaints. Not a lot of people in chat, but sometimes that happens when we do these midday podcasts.
Oh, yeah,
People are
doesn't matter.
working and doing
Doesn't
shit.
matter what we're doing here. Is we're having a conversation and presenting it. And anybody wants to see it, great. If people don't want to see it, that's cool too.
People will check in after a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They always build after, a few days, 3, 4, 5 days. We'll probably get a few hundred views.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's all love, and it doesn't matter to me. It's good.
I've also been sketchy with my schedule, so not everybody knows when the podcasts are coming anymore, because we've toned it down a little bit with summer coming. And I was talking to you about scheduling.
Plus this summer, are you kidding me? This is an amazing summer.
Yeah, this is.
So we're all coming out of some really heavy stuff, and now we're going back into light.
Yeah, and the question
Light
is,
stuff. Lighter energies.
The question is how are people making those transitions? So I hit the ground running. Like that shit, I might as well have been a fucking bull in a rodeo. That gate opened and I came out trying to murder some clowns. Like, let me at them.
Like, bam. Yeah, I've been moving real fast these days too.
You mentioned that. You said you were going to fucking 5 shows a night. How is that even possible?
No. That's what I used to do before like everything locked down. That was a part of my like aesthetic. Right now, it's basically in Minnesota or Minneapolis. It's difficult to see 5 shows a night because there just isn't that many. Right, I
was just gonna say you can see
there will be
2 maybe, but they close
1 or 2. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I like it.
I like the fact that now. Headlining bands are going on at 9 or 10 o'clock.
That is so great. That changes my lifestyle in a good way, because very often I show up to a show at 10 o'clock p.m. and then we go until here in Minneapolis it's 2 a.m.
Yep.
And then you kind of you might hang out and settle up with the bar or whatever the venue, whatever it is. And then you don't really get out of there with all your equipment and everything until 3, Yep. And you get home 3:30, 4
o'clock, yeah.
And all of a sudden that kind of starts to go.
If you don't stop at Denny's for some chicken strips.
Exactly. Or go like decompress at the house, you're just chilling out.
Yeah, sometimes it's 6, 7, 8 a.m. by the time you actually hit the pillow.
And that's without any real drinking and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just like, so the culture for me, like getting out of a bar or out of a venue after, performing at 11 or 12 or 1 maybe, 1 at the latest, to me that is so much cooler.
I know, it's great.
It's great. What can I say about that?
Nothing good happens after.
I'm super excited about it.
Nothing good happens after midnight anyways.
Yeah. My buddy House says that. Javier Trejo. By the way, Javier Trejo is also an amazing, I should say not also, but he is an amazing one-man band.
Shout out to Javier.
Javier, he does Tuesdays at Terminal Bar. And you know what? The Terminal Bar rules right now.
Shout out to Brad. Thank you for the compliments on the audio. He says our audio sounds great. It's the best it's sounded in some time.
Well, you do sound good, Jared.
You sound delicious, Joe. And he said he's also got his shades on. Yeah, you caught on. You seen the vibe.
We're being Mr. Cool guys here on this podcast.
Fucking rock stars.
But it is kind of bright in here. What can I say?
Do you have any shows coming up? That's what I'm curious about. What do you got booked?
I've got a few coming on up here. Let's see if I can think of all of them. I think I have maybe 10 shows booked. My favorite one that I tend to do each year is it used to be called Rockaway Beach Festival in New York City.
Do you have these on your? Do you have dates on your website yet?
Yeah. I have. I should.
And what's the name of your website?
Hastings3000.com.
Oh, and you guys can find that link in the description if you guys want to see.
Well, isn't that nice? That was a nice little promo segue.
You like that? I'm getting better at those. Fucking sneaky.
I realize I've been talking and looking at you the whole time. I should really look at that camera and say, "Hey, how's everybody doing?"
You can look wherever you want, man. I always look at you guys because I don't like looking at the camera unless you guys go to the bathroom. Then sometimes I'll turn and look at that, but I'm still even usually looking at the TV, trying to read comments and shit. You can look wherever you want. You can look at the camera. You can look at me. Doesn't matter.
Well, I appreciate that. You're giving me full liberty here.
Yeah, full liberty. Liberty, liberty.
Yeah, you got it. So the next show is July 16th at Rock. Well, technically it's now called Summerfest, New York City Summerfest. And
because they lost Rockfest or whatever.
No, well, they still have the Rockaway Beach Festival thing, but I think they want to kind of expand. They want to start bringing in some superstar bands and all that kind of things.
Because I know there's some issues with people using like Rockfest and certain festival names.
Yeah, well, this area though is Rockaway Beach, so like it just simply is, the area in which they were having it, and they would have like 15 venues having 20 bands at each venue all day.
And where is this? Rockaway Beach?
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes south of Manhattan, in Rockaway, New York City.
That's in like 2 weeks from now, you said.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks. Yeah. And I'll be doing, I think, the one-man band there. Although I've been playing with this great drummer named Josh Miller, who's a badass. Yeah. He used to play with the Goondas around town.
Goondas?
And now he plays with Super Flasher, which is their new stuff.
Super Flasher?
Oh, yeah. Their new stuff is just out of this world. They're writing some of the most funniest, coolest, riffiest, cool stuff. And it's so fun. It's just so great. Like it's just
That's so
they
funny.
don't- yeah,
Super
it's-
flasher.
Yeah, super flasher. Exactly what you think. Woo! You know?
To
Hello!
a high degree.
Check it out.
So is what he's flashing super, or is it the way he's flashing that super?
I think it has everything.
Or is it the amount
They're
of
pretty
flashing?
They're pretty much one big package, if you know what I mean. Super Flasher is a great package.
Dude, I heard one of the greatest band names on one of the last podcasts I did. Band's called All 4 Inches.
All 4 inches.
All 4 inches. Dude,
I love
seriously,
that.
whoever came
I
up with
love
that
that.
band, whoever came up with that name, I don't care if your band is even good or not. Open invite on the podcast. That's how good that band name is. Seriously, I'm starting to go, all right, here's the deal. If your band name is literally good enough, I don't care if you have 1 fan or 1,000,000 fans. I want you on the podcast.
Yeah, I love it because that
love
name is great.
band names.
I do too.
I'm obsessed with great and bad band names. Like when you come up with a really bad one, you're like,
Yes,
really,
I've
guys?
come up with way more bad ones than good ones.
Oh, me. All
Yeah.
mine are bad.
Yeah.
Like I
I've
think
got a
I've
list in my somewhere of all the.
I think I've come
the
up
dumb
with
band names.
2 good band names in my entire life. One of them is the one I'm rocking with now, and I still haven't. Let me ask you. I think you've heard the demos.
Mm-hmm.
What sounds better? Rivalry or The Rivalry?
I think I like the rivalry.
It's a 50-50
I
split.
think I do.
I'm 50-50
Because
on
it
them
has
personally.
something like rivalry to me sounds like it can get closer to oi punk, and what you're doing is not really that kind of vibe. But the rivalry has a little bit more of a expanded connotation, so to say. At least that's my first initial read on it. But yeah, what can I say?
That one, and then the
I'm
Tyrants.
no expert.
The Tyrants. I came up with that one. I was surprised that one taken either. But
Well, the Tyrants is pretty cool. I know a few bands that use that in their names, but it's not the
they
same.
used something Tyrants.
yeah,
There's
like
a band.
what Tyrants?
There was a band in town called What Tyrants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I played with them a couple times, and they are also adorable. Are you kidding me? They're so
I heard
great.
they were actually pretty good.
They're so great.
We
Yeah,
hated
they're
them.
really good.
We
Did you?
hated them. We never once seen them live, but we despised the fact that because we came
have a
out,
name?
they came out right after us, like literally
You're like shit.
within 90 days of us launching our Facebook page and putting music up there and like doing the damn thing.
Yeah, right.
They
right.
showed up, and people used to get us confused all the time, and so they were like
tour
our
a lot.
nemesis.
They tour a lot, so they're
Fuck 'em.
I haven't
No, I'm just
seen them for a
kidding.
while, but-
I'm just kidding. It's all good now. But back then,
fuck what the Tyrants.
Dude.
What Tyrants?
dude, and I heard somebody knew them, and they were like, "Yeah, they don't like you guys either."
Oh shit.
Because of the same thing.
Yeah,
it was
right.
like,
They're
no,
like-
we're not them. God damn it.
Oh,
Fuck
yeah,
these guys.
Right.
Because we literally both came up with our band names independently, not of each other,
Sure.
right almost at essentially the exact same time. Like I said, within 90 days of each other. In the cosmic time, that's the same moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You
So
got
it was
it.
like, yeah, they were like our nemesis. But those are the only 2 good band names I ever came up with. Everything else I've ever come up with is fucking stupid. But what I'm getting at is those band names never made it, right? So like, why I say I'm obsessed with bad band names is because there's fucking 5 of you, and not only could none of you come up with anything better, but you all agreed and settled on that bullshit. Like, that's why I love a bad band name as well, because it's like, dude, come on, you guys. It's like, I think it's like almost like a sign of laziness. You know what I mean? It's like you could have tried harder, but you
what about the band? What do you think about that band?
oh,
name?
like the band.
yeah, right.
That's kind of genius.
It is kind
It's kind of genius.
I agree with you. There was a
You're
part
talking
of me-
about the band, right?
Yeah,
Like
Robbie
the backing
Robertson's-
band.
Yeah, with Levon Helmet, like The
fucking
Wait or whatever songs they did.
Van Morrison and
Yeah, you got it,
Yeah,
man.
Janis
The band.
Joplin.
Yeah, they backed up Bob Dylan. They just called themselves the band.
dude, and
That's kind of brilliant.
those are the type of musicians.
Also, although I didn't love the name because it's just too damn obvious,
well,
But I do love it.
they were the
that's
type of
fun thing.
musicians I grew up around, though.
Sure.
Like those motherfuckers were so good,
Yes, they
and the
were.
dudes that I grew up around,
Yep.
that's the type of level that those motherfuckers were at. They were all in like
Sounds like you were lucky to have that around you.
sort of. I didn't really know what was going on. I was too young.
Sure.
By the time I got into music,
They'd all moved on, kind of.
no, my parents had gotten divorced, and like I wasn't hanging out.
Oh, I see. Sure.
So a lot of them are just vague memories.
Yep.
But dude, I'm telling you, man, even those vague memories. I remember being 15, 16 years old and stepping into a room with guys that were technically better than me.
Sure.
And like we'd be jamming shit because they'd be auditioning And it was just so funny to try to tell a 30-year-old man at 16 years old that he's sloppy. I'm like, nah, that shit.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, we got to tighten that shit up. And he's like, what are you talking about? It sounds good. I was like, no, it don't. Because I already knew what tight sounded like in my head because I had heard someone already execute it. I'm like, no, dude. Like, I know what a great band sounds because it subconsciously had grown up around these like really elite level classic rock musicians. And yeah, it took a long time before I got a group of musicians to that point where it was like, we sound tight. And then I could never capture that sound on record. It was like, okay, we're great live. And I never learned how to capture it on record. I still don't know. I still don't know how to capture my sound on record. I need a good engineer and a good producer. I'm not one of them self-produced cats.
Sure.
I'm a fucking performer. I'm a songwriter.
Yep.
You get me to sound good on record. I got everything else. Like, but I'll pay you for your expertise. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Don't
front. Not everybody should be producing their own records. Most people that do that, your record sounds like shit.
That's true. Yeah, and what can I say to that? I mean, I do produce, my own records.
You probably have to, though.
I have to.
Your whole thing is a different deal.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah, the one-man band concept goes as far as it goes. Like I can't just, have a whole bunch of people produce a whole bunch of music for me and then call it my own one-man band. That's just not.
Well, and not only that,
sincere. I like sincerity.
But it's also so bizarre. It's so unique. It's not. Even when I listen to your music, 10, 30, 40 seconds in, I don't actually know what you're going to do next, ever. Right? So it's like, point being is, most music, even prolific music, I can kind of do that.
Sure.
Like within the first couple bars, I can predict the next couple bars.
Sure.
If it's really well written and it's written like I would write a song, I can even like usually predict when your fucking groove changes are going to come in. Like, man. Here comes the break. Step it up, double time it. Oh, yep, there you go. Got it. Nice. Nicely done, fellas. Okay, cool. But here's the point. If it's not that shit like what you're doing, where it's very unique, very artistic, very bizarre, you don't need a producer or an engineer. You don't even want that because those people are going to be trying to get you to sound like what they think it should sound like.
That's true.
It's the exact opposite of what a musician like you needs. It makes sense for you to self-produce.
Well, it depends upon the project.
Kind of like a Jack White, too.
Well, Jack White,
that makes sense?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Not a Metallica, not a Nickelback. Like, those bands need a producer where it's like, no, stop, guys, because they're fighting amongst themselves as a band, right?
Yeah,
you're not fighting amongst yourself. You're realizing a vision. The rest of us need an engineer and a producer to come in and go, stop, that sucks.
Right.
Delete that.
One of my most favorite producers I ever worked with. His name is Gary Berger. And Gary Berger was the lead.
Gary Schlumpberger?
No. nice reference. No, Gary used to play in a band called the Monks, and they were a very, very they kind of were known in the 60s as the anti-Beatles because they were playing the same club as the Beatles in Hamburg, and they would actually share the same room when the Beatles were out and not doing their thing. They were the band that did their own thing. And the Monks are a really interesting band. I mean, they're a very powerful band, and they're very niche. And Gary happened to live that 60s garage rock lifestyle and then moved to Turtle River, Minnesota and become the mayor there.
Oh, shit.
And then he had a beautiful house and he built a studio. And Gary is maybe one of the most beautiful spirits I've ever met. He's just such a cool dude. He's passed now. But my old band, Fuck Nights, did a record there. And the way that Gary did things was so great. So we went through, like, I think we spent 3-4 days or something like that, like a long weekend. I had an RV, like a crappy 70s tour bus for ourselves called the Honey Wagon, and I loved it. I sold it. I should try and get another one, but there's so much fun. But anyway, so we are recording with Gary and getting all this stuff, and he's kind of like, he's getting us to sound pretty cool, right? And we get all the way down to the end, like the last day, and Gary says, I think you guys did a good job, we have been working on your guys' music over here over those last 3-4 days. You guys want to hear some of the stuff that I've been putting out? And we're like, yeah, throw it on. And so he puts on, he's like, I haven't done anything with this yet, but it's a new tune, and it's been working on it a little while. And we're like, cool. He throws it on, and it just starts off with what sounds like a guy talking to a crowd of like 10,000 in this kind of crazy tongue, and it erupts into some of the most amazing rock and roll I've ever heard. I mean, Gary Berger was a total unsung hero of, I guess what you might call now garage rock, but really it's just rock and roll. But like, he's a superstar with the Monks. I mean, they're the kind of band, like, if you get an original pressing, is probably a $2,000 record, you know.
Wow.
You know, they're one of those types. And you know, they would write songs like I Hate You, But Call Me, you know, like those.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's why they were the anti-Beatles. I mean, they were much darker. And they had a banjo in the band.
That's a
and
great
they didn't,
song.
They did, yeah, right. And they had a banjo, but they didn't play like a banjo. They played it like a distorted, like crunchy, percussive thing. Uh-huh. And like, those guys were way ahead of their time, you know. So the Monks and me working with Gary was like a complete eye-opener for me.
Right.
You know, in terms of how to, like, you know, give your band, you let this little young band do their thing for 4 days, and then you kick their ass right at the end with your shit. You know, let these guys know what they're working towards.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that was a lesson learned. How beautiful that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got
Gary Berger of the Monks. Look up the Monks. They rule.
Yeah. I get my ass kicked like that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I'll record some hacky demo of a guitar riff. You know, and I'll send it to a buddy. I'm really check this out, man. Tell me what you think. And he's like, dude, it rips. Check out what I'm working on. And I hit play, and I'm like, ugh, why do I even send this guy riff?
Because the response is like, I have to now. Yeah, what can I say?
It's
about
just
that?
so much better than what I do. I'm just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, right.
It happens all the time. I love it. I love
too.
it so much because I'm like, all right.
Yeah, man. You know, for me, getting schooled, if I can have that happen every day, I would.
I know, right?
It's so humbling. It's so great. Yeah.
Well, it excites me because it's like I see a challenge. It's like, ooh, I can learn something here. I can add something to the toolbox again, which
yes
happens fewer and farther between unless you jam with not only musicians that are better than you, but different style. That's what it's really about for me. Yeah, as a metal. Last time I got up about something.
Oh, how great is that? Yeah, all I cared about for about 10 years is blues.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's all I cared about. The blues, if it wasn't blues. So the shuffle, you can spend your whole life playing a shuffle, and you still might not get to the point where you feel like it's a good one.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's for me. That's going back to the Zeppelin or Bonham. Cool in the Rain beat.
Yeah, that's totally amazing.
The single hardest drum. Properly.
Absolutely, man. Yep.
There's part of it I can play pretty well. Not right. Perfect. But there's an entire section.
See, I know Zeppelin. I know the song "Fool in the Rain," but I don't really remember the drum beat. If only we had like a little sample of these things we were talking about for the audience to be like, "What the hell are these guys talking about?" I can't
play Zeppelin songs. I'll get flagged.
I know you would. I know.
I'll probably get flagged for yours too if we play one of your songs, but I can win that dispute. I usually win those because I can be like, I have direct permission from the artist.
Yes.
Came on the podcast to promote his stuff.
Sure.
And usually I win them. There's only been 2 I haven't won. One of them was because Jeremy, my singer from my band, gave me permission to play one of his videos, his other band, when he wasn't on the podcast. And YouTube was like, no, if he's not on the podcast, then fuck you.
Oh, yeah, right.
So
well, YouTube kind of does what they want to do.
I was like, okay, that's fair. You know, even though I have permission. Like, I don't want to make a big deal out of this. Okay, so keep it to the guys who are on the podcast. And then just recently had a dude on the pod, and DistroKid denied my.
Yeah, got it.
And they were like, no, we're not going to allow. And so it's like, so forever. So I got to be careful playing any music.
I dig it.
But Zeppelin, no.
No go. That'll get flagged right away.
You guys just got to go listen to it. Fool in the Rain. You can even YouTube an audio drum where
you just hear the drums isolated or whatever. Right?
Yeah, it's the ISO drums. You can vaguely hear the guitars and everything in the background.
That's an interesting thing that's happened in music with the idea that YouTube is a thing in the last 10, 15 years, is that nowadays, if you're a musician, you can listen to individual tracks from the original artists that are separated from the rest of the tracks. And to me, that's an amazing thing, because you ever like listen to a drum beat like you were talking with Fool in the Rain. Not always, but often you can have an isolated version of that drum part, like Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin or whatever it is. The kind of drum parts that if you can hear it completely isolated, you can actually study it and hear all of the different nuances.
And it completely changes your perception of what's actually going on in the part.
Young musicians that are just kind of starting to learn how to play, having that as a tool, that to me
it's a game changer.
Yeah, it is. It really
it's a game changer. I mean,
and
I
you
was
can slow things down too. I think that's totally an amazing thing.
Yeah,
too.
right on YouTube.
See, I teach music quite a bit as well, and I use those tools every single day.
Yeah, and you can do it right on YouTube. You go to the gear icon at the bottom of the screen. You probably can't do it on this live video if you're watching right now, but
somebody wants to slow us down.
But if you're watching on replay
or speed us up, somebody wants to speed us up. I think. Right?
If you can just. I do it a lot actually. For a lot of shit, I watch on 1.5 or 2 times speed.
I do too, man.
Depends on what I'm watching.
Right. Yeah, if it's like a slow-moving documentary about something, and you're like, well, I'm just going to speed this up.
Most podcasts I listen to, almost all podcasts,
speed up about 150.
Yep, I'm at 1.5 right. speed.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to spend 3 hours. I'll spend 2 hours on this. So
well, and it's for me, it's not even that. It's just I don't need. Like, I consciously have to slow down my speech.
Sure.
Because I naturally talk really fast with a lot of energy. Most other people, when I listen to them speak, like on a podcast, I'm bored. Like,
I suppose.
Because everyone else speaks too slow for me.
Well,
so literally, I just kick it up to 1.5, and now you're like talking out how I talk.
Sure.
Blah, 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 blah. And
you got a fast processor. That's what you got.
It's just, dude, I just don't need all of the pauses. Just tell me what the fuck you're trying to say. As fast as possible. Like Elon
Musk.
What you're saying. Like Elon Musk was one of the worst podcasts to listen to because there were so many pauses.
Smoking the weed?
Yeah, he's been on there a couple times. And he's such a deep thinker that he doesn't respond like a normal human. Joe will ask him a question, and there's a 10-second pause.
Yeah, right. Well,
put it on 1.5 speed, and
you're good. You're golden.
Now it's a 6-second pause or whatever the fuck.
Right.
But even with my buddies who have podcasts and shit too, while I'm doing stuff, I'll throw it on in the background, throw it on 1.5 speed, do some cleaning or sit there work on guitar parts or whatever the fuck.
It's
the secret, man. It's the secret sauce is 1.5 speed, dude.
Oh, I think it's for me. It's just a fascinating aspect. I use it as a tool for people learning songs. If I can get them to play the song at 100%, I'd say, well, why don't we speed it up to 125? Can you play it that fast?
You ever go the other way?
Oh, yeah. It's almost always slowed down 50, 75% and 100. But if I get my students to play a song at 125% speed, all of a sudden when they go back to 100%, it's like it's too slow for them or something. Yep. It like changes the psychology, and they can play it note for note. And it's an amazing tool. It's also an amazing study in terms of psychology and learning. Another buddy of mine, Sean Walker, he's an amazing drummer. Plays with Gay Witch Abortion and a number of different projects.
Gay Witch Abortion?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They rule. They're a duo, and they always kill it. They always kill it, right? They do like a 20-minute set, and that's all you need because they're so badass and so heavy and so cool.
20-minute set, all killer?
It is.
No filler?
There you got it, man.
Bro, I'm
Sum 41 reference.
That ain't a Sum. That ain't it. Fuck that. That is way before Sum 41.
Shit. But Sean told me, I was like, hey, Sean, what have you been listening to these days? He said, well, I've been listening to like, metal at 2 times the speed. I said, are you kidding me? He says, yeah, I kind of practice it that way. And I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. So I learned a lot from him, man. He's a smart dude.
That's so fucking funny, bro.
I know, right? He listened to speed metal at twice the speed.
We listened to our album one time at at double speed,
Yeah, man.
but it was back when you did it via pitch shifting.
Oh yeah, right.
So it made it sound like chipmunk metal.
Yeah, right.
It was twice the speed and pitch.
Alvin
it
and
was
the Chipmunks.
hilarious.
Yeah, I dig it.
It was so funny. We were like, but it was good too.
Yeah, right.
It was like, dude, can we figure out a way to do this? Like, can I sing through some sort of like octaver that'll just pitch shift me all the way up an entire octave, and like you guys switch tunings and we just learn how to play at 280 BPM.
Shit. Yeah, I like that. I like fast shit. I like slow shit.
It was chipmunk metal. It was so funny. No, I've been getting into a lot of chiller stuff again. Like down tempo, more experimental shit. I've been on a fucking Tool kick again for like the last month or two.
Tool's an interesting band. I like Maynard's offshoots.
He's got a few.
The thing he did with that actress, I can't remember her name right now. She was in.
Talking about Pussifer?
Yeah, I think it's Pussifer.
That's one of them.
Mila Jovovich.
That's one of his bands for sure.
I think that's the yeah. And I remember them. They had they came out one of the presentations they did. They did a show where they were all wearing television, like true television sets on their heads. Huh. And I think the presentation was that I don't know where there's some sort of symbiosis between humans and TV and programming and all the different things.
Sure.
And to me, that's a fascinating thing.
Like the humans are the program.
Yeah, the receivers are also the broadcasters, something like that. I don't know, but it made me think, and that made me like Maynard more as seeing that project, especially with him working with this actress who's also an enigma, who's done all of these crazy superstar films, and then they're just doing a cool art project, Obviously, they're well connected and they can put out art stuff like that and get away with it and do it on a big level, but. Yeah, kudos to them for doing that.
He hooked me in lyrically when I looked at the lyrics. There's a video explaining Carl Jung and some other dudes their theory. It's 46 and 2 about like group consciousness and it has a lot to do with like hallucinogens and enlightenment. So it's like you dive in and you look at the self, right?
That's right, the teachings of the dervishes.
You dive a little farther, right? Then you find the shadow self.
There you go.
Most people stop there.
Castaneda.
Most people stop at the shadow self, right? But the 46 and 2 theory is about going even farther past the shadow self to where you can tap into like intertwined consciousness.
Yep.
And it's the 46 and 2 theory. And dude, the shit is fucking deep, bro.
H.P. Lovecraft.
It's fucking wild because, dude, I did a quarter ounce of mushrooms and came to this conclusion on my own. A very similar conclusion. Like some of the verbiage was different, but some of the animations were almost identical. Yep. What I saw in my mind.
Sure.
And then a few months later, I discovered the 46 and 2 theory.
Fantastic.
And it blew my fucking mind because I had been trying to describe what I like started to understand and what I started to see and how it changed my views on spirituality and religion and all that kind of shit. And this 46 and 2 thing is probably the closest tangible teaching on earth that is the most similar to what I saw.
I think that's fantastic.
That whole idea got me right back into Tool. Like I've just been on a Tool burn for like 2-3 months now, dude. Because that mushroom trip was fucking like 6 months ago, dude.
Well, that's pretty cool.
But it's still having a residual effect,
It's cool how you're relating your experiences to the teachings of the 46 and 2 mindset that was interpreted through Maynard with Tool.
Yeah, there's some powerful correlations.
They're all thinkers. They're all sensitive individuals, and they're trying to explore this reality. I think that's a very cool thing that that resonates with you.
Yeah, it was weird too because I wasn't fucking asking them questions, bro.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Right.
When you do a quarter ounce of mushrooms, bro, you fucking start asking questions you didn't even know you would fucking. You don't even want the answers to them. You're like, I can't shut it off. It's like, too bad, bitch. Let go. It's a roller coaster of emotion.
Like the first half hour, you're like, I need to take a shower. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I don't need to take a shower. I'm just gonna go over there.
There was one moment through the night where all I had to do is go hit up my buddy, and He answers his door. He lives in the house, and I was like, "Bro, I can't shut it off."
You can't
And
shut
he was
it
like,
off.
"He's like, you all right?" And I was
We're
like,
on this for
I was
4.5 hours,
I'm
brother.
like, "Yeah, I'm fine, dude."
Not that 4.5 hours matters right now.
I'm like, it's just a lot.
In fact, it might seem like 4 weeks. A buddy of mine took a quarter of mushrooms, and they were good, and he went into this process, kind of a Terrence McKenna type of thing with Timothy Leary kind of thing, where he basically, you do this thing where you take a quad and then you go into like a dark spot, like an isolation chamber. And what he did was he went into a closet, a cleaned out closet with a bucket. And, we'll talk about what the bucket's for in a minute. But basically it's for human functions, So he did this, and he said it was one of the most difficult times of his existence, is going through this process. And I think maybe it was a half ounce he took. I can't remember what it was.
I think he referred to it as a heroic dose.
Yes, yeah, exactly right. And so he goes through this whole process, and he says that he became a very, very small individual and was fighting with the crickets and the caterpillars in these tremendous grass stalks that were like 50, 100 feet taller than him. And that he had to learn how to say hello and thank you in the earth's language.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's very interesting. And so for me, I've always thought about that, being like, if I was meeting anything on any level, those are the first two things I'd want to know.
Yeah.
How do you say hello and thank you?
Fucking heavy. Fucking heavy, bro. It's fucking heavy, man. Honestly, dude, we should probably just wrap the podcast up right there, dude. I don't know if we're going to go much further and actually do a better podcast. We should just wrap it up there. What do you think?
It's up to you, man.
It's pretty much 4. I mean, dude, I want to do this again with you. I know you're super busy.
Well, I'd love to be back on here, man.
Dude,
I enjoy your energy. I enjoy what you've got going on here.
Too,
and
man.
I also enjoy the people that might be tuning in because they're curious about what you're doing and whatever people are on here, Oh,
you're the interesting one.
No,
I'm on here all the time just blathering about just blah, blah. No, you're an incredible individual, dude. I really appreciate your time.
I think you are too, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to have you, dude. And
it's been an honor to be on your podcast. I appreciate you extending it, and I know we've been almost a year or a year and a half in the process to get this together.
Pretty much.
So I appreciate this
Thank
time.
You, Thank you. If you guys want to check his shit out for all the national listeners across the country, he's got shit going on. He is coming to the East Coast. We got a bunch of people listening in Jersey and in New York.
Cool.
So he's going to be
July 16th in Rockaway.
July 16th or 17th?
Friday, July 16th.
Okay, so
I'll be there that whole weekend, but that's the night
I think earlier we said 17th.
Oh, I hope not.
I think we did. But either way, go to his website, hastings3000.com. Links in the description. And yeah, go check him out, you guys.
Hey, cheers. Much love.
Fucking going to be dope. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you guys. And yeah, make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, join
Everybody
the Patreon.
Be safe out there. Good to see you.
All that good shit. Thank you guys. We'll see you again. Yeah, let's do this again, dude. This was a blast.